had only the ability to take pictures, right? iPhone 2G as well as iPhone 3G initially, you could only take pictures. And we launched an iPhone version in August that could do live video. Not just video, live video from iPhone. So we took it, once we saw that platform, once we saw the device, we knew that this is a game changer. This is what smartphones will look like going forward. We had to capitalize on it, and we had to be the first ones to be able to crack that. So our team essentially just converted and looked at how can we make sure a phone that only does pictures can start doing video, and that to live video. And we realized that underlying the camera was actually a video camera. It was just that Apple had put restrictions so that the SDK allowed you only to take pictures. Once we realized that, we said, okay, we have to still do video on it. Understand that we won't be a legal app in the App Store, and we have to figure out a way to get distribution and get users using it, but we need to start experimenting with that platform now rather than wait for the App Store to open up to us. And so a month after iPhone gets launched, we launched Quick for iPhone. And even this launch, right, it was available only for jailbroken iPhones. It got covered by news because it was all of a sudden people realized that they could now use iPhone to do video as well. So it became the video camera for iPhone. And this was another thing that we saw, the iPhone part of it, which was like the second inspiration for our users. It just captured users' imagination. I'll play this video in a bit, but this person with this gear on his head actually has an iPhone. He put a cap together, built his iPhone in it, and he ran a marathon, live streaming the entire live marathon. And as he was running, right, what we did was we could show location as he was running through it. So people were tracking him as to what he was doing in the marathon and where he was running. So people, it just inspired or triggered something in their brains and got them imagining as to what I can do with this product. And someone here
bandwidth is nothing compared to these quick streams. So we will
built
see
an
that
accessory
very soon.
For
and
Quick.
Speaking of stuff that you'll see very soon, this is actually being filmed on an iPhone right now. And it's pretty good quality, right? You get a lot of stuff in the shot, and the audio sounds great. That's because we've come up with a really cool accessory, we think, for the iPhone. So Ben, why don't you go ahead and pop your iPhone out of it. Just, there you go. And right now, immediately, there's a huge audio difference. And so, pull the thing all the way out. And so, of course, there's much less in the shot here, and it's a little bit shakier. And that's because Ben was recording on this. We've got a 0.5x wide-angle lens that we can put all sorts of filters and telephoto and all that.
I'll just pause this here. So he built an accessory so that you could get a stable shot of Quick. You had an extra microphone on top so that you can capture video, means audio, along with the video. It was a directional mic, so the audio quality could be better. And he started building these accessories so that people could take those and capture videos and do live streaming with those videos using Quick. And so looking at the timeline again, right, it was becoming like a style, I would say. We launched iPhone 3G support in 13 June or 13th August. A week or two later, we had it refreshed, we had it refreshed, we had it refreshed. So we were going out and just innovating on iPhone on a device that could not even do video, but we didn't give up. So my takeaway from that is, follow your instincts. Means no one told us that iPhone is going to be big, but everyone was talking about it. We all knew about the news, and we knew we could do video on that. It was not that we got curtailed by the fact that what can or cannot be done on that phone. So we took it on ourselves to innovate on that platform and build video. We just didn't have to play by the book, right? Means when we were launching it on the jailbroken iPhone, means a number of folks who were saying that, why are you doing this? Apple might shut you down, this might happen, that might happen. We said that, but we need to, in order for our product to be better, and for us to realize that when iPhone really opens this up for video, that we are one of the first players there, with the quality level to be high, we have to be starting to innovate back here. And we started doing that. So we didn't play by the book in that particular sense. And we found out ways to be able to get this device in the hands of our users, even though the standard distribution channels were not there. And we iterated fast. The fourth anecdote was a big learning thing for all of us, because the market crashed in 2008, and when the market crashed, we were out looking for funding. So till then, as you can imagine, everything was rosy for us, right? We were closing funding, within a weekend, everything was looking good, users were coming in hordes, but everything came to a screeching halt. And this is a lesson learned where reality did not hit us fast enough, mainly because we were in such a ride. We thought that, we'll be fine, nothing to worry about. But then all of a sudden, initially the VCs and others who were ready to fund us, just started backing away. There was just no investment to be done. And so starting November 2008 till close to, I would say, July, August of 2009, we were in a complete survival mode because we really ran out of money. And so for us, it was how can we survive these tough times? And there are a number of things that you do. One is obviously the standard stuff that you do in order to cut your costs, etc. But we looked at various avenues, and that is the time when we started figuring out what is the business model, what is the revenue, how can we make this into a business. It got us all focused together with a small group of folks looking at how can we now finally become a big company around this or make this into a business. So those three things became the key mantras for us, which is how can we start generating revenue, what's the model here. We focused heavily, whatever we thought we didn't have to do, we didn't do. And then we survived, and the survival was people going without pays, salary cuts across the board. I know, those were some real tough times, but we just regrouped ourselves and said we really need to really do this. And that's where the culture comes back in, right? When you start looking at it, which is we just wanted this to become really big. We wanted this to be successful. And that was that thing which drove all of us, and we survived through those times. My takeaway, this is a quote that I love from Steve Jobs. Oftentimes, the ones who are successful love what they do, so they persevere when it goes really tough. Others quit, as that's the same thing to do. That was something that always was in my mind at that point in time when we were going through these times, saying that how can we really go through these tough times in order to really survive ourselves. Takeaway was when you see the macro environment get tough, act fast. We didn't. But we had, the lesson learned is act fast, act decisively, make the cuts that you need to make. The tough times brought the best in us. And having the right investors really mattered, because then all the investors who were there with us were with us figuring out how we can actually survive these times. And finally, the key thing that struck in my mind was, the reason why means we had an opportunity to raise money in June, July before the meltdown started happening in September. So there were a couple of VCs who came to us and said that, this is the valuation, we're ready to do it. And we said, no, we are not ready. And we turned them away, mainly because we were looking to hit the milestone of public beta to 100,000 users or so, and then raise money because it will get us better valuation. So hindsight, looking at it, saying that, when you cannot really predict the macroeconomic environment, what's going to happen, but when you see something which is there, where VCs are ready, or some investors are coming on board, and you are close enough to your milestone, go ahead, raise that fund. And then I'll close with this last anecdote. The regrouping completely helped us across the board, where today we are committed preloads on 55 plus devices, number of carriers distributing quick, with Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, you can name it, right? Things just started falling into place in 2009, August of 2009. So, starting with Nokia. Nokia was the first ones who preloaded us on N97 and then N97 Mini, etc. And the one on top is, it became so big of a news that we hit the top section of Google News. So our preload became a pretty big news thing. Nokia started putting us, just like in Apple stores, you have the quick logo, and this was a store in, I think, Pune, in big banners on roadside. This was some banner in Spain. They started distributing quick. This was a TV ad. I think we are kind of short on time. I won't play this ad, but TV ads started coming through. And we got our first, let me pause this video. And then, this was our first carrier. And this also was an interesting story. This is, I would say, another thing which has become kind of the norm for us. So Sprint was introducing this device called HTC Evo. And it was the 4G device on their WiMAX network, so they wanted to really showcase that device, and video was the best thing that could showcase 4G network as well as the device. So they came to us with a proposition of preloading quick and distributing quick. And we looked at the device, we supported that device, it was an Android device, but then we realized that this particular device has a front-facing camera in it. And then there were all these rumor mills going out that, iPhone will come out, iPhone 4 will come out, it will have a front-facing camera. So we looked at ourselves and said, maybe the time has come for us to go back and build that video calling capability around mobile phones. And this was around March timeframe. HTC Evo was launching in June, end of June. Apple iPhone 4G was launching early June. So we exactly had 2.5 months to build that product out. We had done it on desktop side, the two-way video conferencing capability, but we had 2 months to get this product out. So we looked at ourselves, said 2 months, a very short time in order to build something, that too on the mobile device. What should we do here? And we said, we gotta go for it. So we looked at all of us and said, okay, let's build it. And the way we went about it was actually very interesting, because we looked at it and said that, the biggest hurdle in this, in any two-way communication, is echo cancellation, right? So when both of them are talking, how can you make sure that, there's no echo going back and forth, the audio part of it. So we said, that will take some time for us to build across all these various type of mobile devices. So what can we do? So we came up with the notion of push to talk. We said, let's launch video call, but the first release will be in order to talk, you push a button while you're doing the call in order to talk the other person. It's almost like the Nextel thing. You push, you basically talk back and forth, the walkie-talkie style talking. And we said that with that, we could hit that 2-month milestone. So we went for it. We talked to Sprint. Sprint said, if you can build it, it will be great, because now we can showcase even a front-facing camera. And we started building it. And the target was end of June. A month before the actual launch, Sprint said, oh, I think FaceTime is coming up. iPhone is going to be really real. Do this by early June. And we were like, what? He said, yeah, we are going to launch early June, 2 days before iPhone launches. So again, as you can imagine, the entire team comes together. We just regroup ourselves 24/7, and we released it 2 days before actual FaceTime launch on Android phones. The interesting thing with that happened was it triggered everything for us. For the carrier preloads were triggered by just that. Mainly because iPhone came out with FaceTime. All of a sudden, everyone is saying, we need this capability on our device. And iPhone obviously was just AT&T. Everyone else was adopting Android. And we were the only product out there which did Android two-way video. And so T-Mobile came to us, AT&T came to us, and we just started iterating. But true to our style, what we did was, within a couple of months after launch, we removed push-to-talk capability, we had two-way audio, all that stuff, all the things that we initially scoped out, now we brought in and made sure that the product was robust. And this is something that was something that put us on the map, I would say, from an ad standpoint, because this is an ad I will play from Sprint.
Is the first 4G
But anyone who has watched football, NFL League at that time will have seen this.
Video chat on the go, so you can be face to face, even when you can't be, whether you're on 4G, 3G, and of course, Wi-Fi. First, let you stream live video to the web in 3, 2, 1. What will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone, only from Sprint, the Now Network?
And not only that triggered a whole bunch of things. This was the box for Evo. We were right front and center on the box, quick. That was the only product that they talked about. And it started the trigger where now this has become something that we talk about all the time. This is a Dell tablet released by T-Mobile. You'll see front and center our product. Sprint recently launched another product, Quick, all across the board. So basically they were all looking to showcase their devices, their network, and we were the product that they could use in order to showcase the devices and network. So we got not just the preloads, we were getting marketed, and guess what, again, our marketing budget was not that big because all the partners and others were doing the marketing for us. So the key takeaway from that was, it was again that decision point whereby we realized that there were just 2 months for us to roll a video calling product as well, integrated with our video streaming product as one cohesive experience. How can we roll that out? We knew we had 2 months to do it, which again got shortened, and we went for it. So it was, when you see things in line with your vision, we could have wasted hours debating it, thinking about it. We just said, to hell with everything, this is what we went out to build, let's build it. So we didn't overthink it, we just went for it and saying that how can we build this and make this thing work. One of the key things that we realized was having an app which was being used by consumers across the board was a big leverage for us. Mainly because it was proven, people were using it, so when these carriers would come to us, or OEMs, we had stats. We could actually tell them, this is what we did, this is how things are going, this is what works, this does not work. So as we were innovating in the space and as we were doing things, we were the only ones who actually knew about all the various things that were going on. We had enough data in our system to prove a bunch of stuff. And having that consumer app was also a trigger, mainly because as our users were growing, the carriers were saying, oh, this is a product that people love. And already it has some establishment where users are using it, so let's take a bet on this. And as a result, the other players who started coming in at that point in time were not getting as much mindshare as we were. And then, once we realized that we had the must-have feature, we started dominating that market by building very key relationships. And these relationships were not just marketing relationships. There was deep product R&D going on in order to how to really showcase the device. We were integrating into that hardware. So for example, if you look at a MyTouch device, if any of you are T-Mobile users, if you use that, it has come to a point whereby the address book shows now whether you're online or not on Quick. And from the local address book, the native address book, you can tap and start a video calling session using Quick. So it's getting integrated not just as Quick, but also deeply into the devices. So we started building deep R&D relationships as well as marketing and sales relationships with them. So those were my takeaways, and this made my day when I saw this a few weeks back.
Photo Center prints and 2 HTC sensations from T-Mobile.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, son.
I'm in studio.
That's great. You make me so proud.
Thanks, Dad.
What's that?
Nothing.
I gotta go.
Is that a chicken?
Get everything you need for back to college, like the latest smartphones with video chat, starting at $48.88. Save money, live better. Walmart.
I would have never imagined that there would be a Walmart commercial on Quick. So.
We'll have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask them a couple of questions, then open to you all. Please be ready with your questions. So what are Master Yoda and our boys doing? He's not picking it up.
This Yoda and Boris both are mascots. And this Yoda has magical powers, believe it or not. Right? I'm serious. So we were in our cubes, working closely, and at night we would leave Yoda in a particular place, and next day morning it would be pointing to the developer who had a deliverable that day. How that happened, we just don't know. But it happened. It would all of a sudden know that this guy was on the hook to deliver something. So that was one thing. And the second time I realized it had magical powers was during the downturn, when we were looking for revenue, all of a sudden the Yoda had a money printer on it. And when we walk into the office, saying that, what the hell? How come the Yoda has a money pillow? Maybe it's trying to give us some message here that we need to really start thinking about money. And we started looking at that. Basically, he was the wise guy in our lot and guiding us across the board. Now, Boris has an interesting story. Erika, do you want to tell the story?
No.
Okay, so we have a Russian counterpart, right, in the sense the developer team. Nikolai is a co-founder of the company, built the team in Russia. And we realized that we need to learn Russian, right, just to be able to communicate better with them. Boris was a teacher. So we walk into the door, and we had all these walls were like whiteboards, right, for us to draw things, and all of a sudden there were Russian words there, and Boris was sitting and trying to teach us Russian. So we started practicing Russian accent and all the various things which are there. So Boris is a teacher, and this is the wise guy, a wise person on our team.
A great story. One more question. So what is the key lesson learned that you would avoid in your next startup? Let's say, assuming you still want to go and do startups.
Rahul, you want to take that first? Or should I?
Are you guys going to do? Are you going to do it again with Ramu, or I thought you were done?
No, there's just, I don't think one time is enough.
No, okay.
Yeah, after we merged with Skype, all three of us were given the opportunity to speak to all of Skype employees in Amsterdam, all of Skype's global summit thing. So me, Bhaskar and Nikolai, all three of us in the same room. So we said to ourselves, hey, what's the one thing we would have done differently? Each of us write our own small chits, not share, and we'll all open it at the same time. So all three of us wrote the chits in this hotel room in Amsterdam. We wrote the same thing. The team should have been together. So we had a team in Redwood City, another team in Moscow. If we had together, probably we could have done way more than what we achieved as of today. That was my key takeaway.
Yeah, in fact, it was the same because we had the same things written on all the chits. And the thing that we said is, we should have just forced Nikolai to come here on an H1 and got it going, because there are things that get lost in communication and translation, and especially if the country is 11 hours away, right? You're trying to communicate at the end of the night with them, then early morning back to them. It is not just a toll on the team, but also, there are things that you can iterate during the day, means together, you can just do it so much faster, and we didn't have that privilege to do it. So what we used to do was every 3 months, we would land up and stay in Russia, or they would come here and be together for weeks working this out. And this was another interesting thing which was great is when I went to Russia, or when Nick came to us, we never stayed in hotels. We actually stayed in each other's houses. And it was not because of money or anything else. Even when we had funding, etc., we just actually stayed at each other's homes. It was the friendship. And apart from the friendship, it was almost like, we were working around the clock. So our wives knew not to disturb us when that was happening. They themselves would go on vacation or do something for those 2 weeks, but leave us alone so that, we could just work through the day together at our homes.
All right, so we will open it to the audience. Let me see. Here. It looks like many hands. How about from there we start?
Yeah, with all the wisdom of Yoda and the founders, how come you didn't anticipate the funding part of it?
That's a very good question. It kind of gets me sometime. And more or less, one of the things that I've learned from that is funding is really not the end goal, right? It's just yet another milestone. And what you're looking is essentially building the product that you want to build. And we were lucky that we got very strong angel investors across the board. But for some reason, VCs did not see the same light, because they had all these various questions that nagged them. It was, is the market really going to come or not? Will the smartphones be really used for this purpose or not?
What I meant is, especially angel investors like Anderson, and they did not counsel you on that part of it?
They did. They were actually helping us across the board. And in fact, as we were going through funding as well, they were the ones who were opening leads to us and helping us across the board. So they were pretty instrumental.
Hi. You know, I'm a startup entrepreneur, so I'm interested in the early phase, but I also wanted to jump ahead to the end and ask you guys how the Skype merger came about. What was the story there? Because you got kind of got all the way up to there, but I'm interested just to know, like, how did they approach you? You approached them, or what was the fit?
Sure. You know, it was we raised funding. I would say another round of funding in August 2010. And it was a good round. We were not really looking to get acquired, but looking at how we can take the company to the next level. Then Skype approached us. They were opening up an office, or they had just recently opened an office in Silicon Valley. And they said that let's just get together and talk. And we went into this meeting, and it was a very enlightening meeting, because means the roadmap that we shared and the roadmap that they shared were exactly the same, pretty much. We had similar visions, we had similar aspirations as to what mobile video should be. And so it was a complete match of minds at that point in time. And once that happens, it was just fast track. So this was, our first meeting with Skype was sometime in October. December 7th, we got our first offer, and we closed, and we announced it at CES. Deal closed January 14th.
So let me ask a follow-up question to that. Is Skype video based on Quick?
So Skype has released mobile video, already mobile video calling on iPhone and Android. There are some parts of it which are Quick technology, and there are some parts of it which is remnant of the Skype peer-to-peer technology.
So what's next in Skype for Quick?
I cannot really, there are two big things that we're working on. One is obviously getting the companies integrated. And the second part of it is getting the products integrated. So for us, the big thing is how can we bring in all the capabilities that we have into the Skype product portfolio.
So what is the monetization model before you merge with the Skype?
So there are a couple. One is with every preloads that we are doing, we're actually getting royalties. So we're not striking, once we realized that this potential is there and we were the only game in town, we were essentially charging royalties per device ship. So that was one thing. And the second thing that we are working towards is premium capabilities, a subscription model. So we recently launched those premium capabilities as well, whereby you get additional features, additional capabilities for $5 a month. But in terms of prior to Skype acquisition, it was essentially royalty distribution revenues that we were getting.
So what's next for mobile video?
Want to take that?
Mobile video, I think, is partly also got redefined by FaceTime. The Quick and Skype vision was like, it's more than calling another person on the phone. It's like all the experiences Bhaskar said, like, you know, live streaming to the internet, archiving your video, sharing to your social networks, basically sharing with anyone, anytime, any place. That's a vision Quick was from day zero, and merging with Skype and blending the products, it's going to get there.
But how do you see the landscape changing, the mobile landscape, video?
Now it's very hard because the players are already entrenched. You know, Skype has almost close to 1 billion footprint after the Microsoft acquisition. That's like a large private network, right?
Right.
Video. Then FaceTime is a private network, right? So these networks are already taken up.
Right. Yeah, so what I'm getting to is, do you see cross-platform video communication?
There will always be a small cross-platform play, but I think it's going to be very challenging. For ad hoc uses, like what Skype and FaceTime are used, for enterprise definitely there is a play between all these systems that are being in place right now.
You know, the way I see mobile is a bit different. It's not just phone. Mobile is when you are mobile, right? And that is a different proposition, because it's not just the phone. The tablet is one piece of device which you can have. You can be in the car. You can be any place. Most of these various devices or these endpoints now have cameras or some video capability. Now, mobile video is going to get redefined again, where it's not just going to be your phone. It is going to be the camera that you carry in your pocket. It's going to be all the various devices that you have when you're mobile. And these can be special devices or devices like iPhone, which are multi-purpose devices. And enabling people to communicate across the board, across all these devices, is still a challenge. phone aside, phone platform itself is a zoo, right? Now there are two winners coming, iPhone and Android, but those platforms are still being worked on, right? Actively, whether it be Android and iPhone. Apart from the phone platform, it will be all the other device platforms, all the other things that are being built, which has camera as an endpoint. People will start expecting being able to communicate from those devices.
So you guys, if I understand properly, you guys were technologically, your strategy was started with the technology, and you said that 2008 you guys put together for the first time business plan in place, right? But nowadays, if you go and ask anybody, talk to anybody, first thing they ask is a business plan, right? So what are your thoughts around this?
I'll go with an advice that Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz gave us, which so rang true to us, even when it was those dire situations. He said that, I'm paraphrasing here, what he said is, don't run behind a revenue model. First, build a product that people love and adopt and use on a daily basis. You'll be able to figure out how to monetize that. But if you are running behind a revenue model and the product is not going to be used and you have not really proven that it's going to be adopted, however much business you are getting at that point in time is going to evaporate down the road. So focus on the user and the product and build something that people love, money will come. So I don't know who all you are talking to, but that is a mantra, a key mantra that I've taken away, that revenue model, business model aside, you should have some thoughts on it. But it's not that you should have experimented on it specifically or tried it to see if it has been successful till your product itself is getting used quite a bit.
So you talked about culture fit and how important it is for the team to really have the same culture. Can you talk a little bit about your process of how you were hiring talent and how you were able to get people to come on board and buy into the vision, and what did it take for you to really build a strong team with the same culture?
A lot of instinct, I would say. It is not that we had a clear bunch of recruiters who were bringing in talent. Initially, it was obviously people we worked with who joined us, and we worked with them. But a big part of it was through the entire interview process. We would actually, during the interview process, apart from asking all the basic technical questions, and from a technology standpoint, even asking them to program, etc., we would actually push them in multiple different directions to see how they would react to it, or how they would react to certain situations, which were like impossible situations. Right? And that told us a lot about how that person is, or how passionate the person is. Because a lot of times they would say that, I've done this, da 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 da, and we would say, that's crap, we don't buy it. Does he have enough guts in order to actually fight back and prove that he's right? So there were a number of things we instrumented to see, is this person really going to be that passionate and push, basically be there when things get tough? And a number of that I would actually point to Lauren as well, because she helped build that culture at Quick. Looking at how we come together, the kind of people who are coming in and interviewing, and the kind of folks that we had across the board. Means we really tasked them during that entire interview process. And so, in fact, it was not just here in US, but also in Russia. So Nick made sure that the person who was coming in had such deep technical skills. In fact, we used to, in the initial days, we used to often laugh and say, our Russia office is a doctor's office, because it was filled with PhDs in math and physics, etc. And Nick just made sure maniacally that he recruited the best talent from these universities to come in and work. So, and passing that interview was tough, because you were asked to write algorithms and programs on videos, etc., right at the spot. And they would challenge you. They would challenge you, why did you write this? Why did you do that? So a big part of it was also not just the technical abilities and the abilities of the folks, but we looked at how passionate this person is, and will this person fight back if we push them to the edge.
To see the actual results, right? In the last 5.5 years of this company, not a single person left because he didn't fit in. When things were tough, we did a round of layoffs and things like that. But no one voluntarily left. So the screening process was pretty decent through and through. both in the US as well as in Moscow, Russia?
I have first of all, congratulations to hear a story like this in last 3, 4, 5 years, because you guys bootstrapped and reinvented yourself, and found an exit without having to rely on rounds and rounds of VC funding stretching over. So congratulations again. Would you be able to share what was your head count when you did Series A and what was your head count when you did Series B?
I distinctly remember for Series A we were 5 guys. All means 3 of us here in Ramu's garage and 2 guys in Nick's kitchen. So that's how that was when we raised Series A round of funding, right? And Series B, we were 5 guys. So we were still lean, and it was only after Series B that we grew. So for a good, I would say from July 2006 all the way till March 2007, we were just a group of 5 employees.
So, I have a quick question on, you mentioned that all the 3 founders said, what is the thing which you would have done differently? Was try to co-locate the team. What were some of the challenges you faced when the teams were in Russia and here, and what were few of the techniques which you applied to solve those, or did you guys take any steps or anything you would share?
Sure. So initially, I would say the reason why we picked that is I think our velocity would have been just significantly higher. Because, irrespective of, typically in traditional product companies, you have product managers, developers, technical, and then marketing, all those various functions. We were those functions. All of us were playing those exact same roles. And Nick was not just the technical lead, he's also very strategic in his thinking. And he was also experimenting with stuff. So he would come up with product ideas, and this is something across the board we found across the board in our engineering team, who was down to the code level. They would come up with things which typical product managers or others we wouldn't have ever thought of. And so that cycle of whether this is going to work or not, how we actually test this, how we do that, those were getting delayed by every day, right? Because they would come up with something, and since we were not there to discuss, that discussion would happen late night, our morning here. We would mull over it and then do that. So you essentially are building cycles which are getting 2 days delays. 2 days is a lot of time, right? Especially if you look at the startup world, an hour is a long time. 2 days was just eternity. So when we looked at that, we said that if we were in the same room, things would have been so much faster. And we realized that because within Quick office here in Redwood City, when we were there, things would move at a very different velocity. Within the Russia office there, things would move at a different velocity. Whenever there was cross-communication to happen, you start building in lag. And that was the area that that could have helped. In terms of how we went about it, I would say a lot of late nights and early mornings. We had essentially, initially, when it was Ramu, myself, and Nick, we actually had Skype running on our desktops pretty much all the time. Nick used to work US hours, even from Russia. And so it was like having our co-founder right there, talking to him all the time. And even today, as we are doing this, every night we have calls with the Russia team. Every morning we have calls with the Russia team. So we do this on a pretty regular basis in order to cope with this. But still, all of us felt, and rightly so, that if we were in the same room, we could have actually, our acceleration could have been much faster.
So first of all, congratulations on a successful run and culmination of it. So you were talking about running the company under tough times on a shoestring budget. At the same time, you were talking about hiring specialized talent, PhDs, etc. So how would you really manage, hiring talent that was, experienced, PhDs, and still compensate them and retain them?
You want to take that?
In our case, bulk of the R&D talent was in Moscow, Russia. So the two people, Alexei Timonovsky and Nikolai Abkharov, were basically seated the team there. They are the stars there, Alexei Timonovsky finished his PhD by the age of 21 or 22, Really a superstar guy. And Nick also on the same level, right? And these two guys were like, could attract talent based on of evangelizing the problem. So this is like a very complex problem what we're trying to solve. So they evangelized to these engineers saying that, hey, this is a hard problem, we're trying to solve it, and this is how we're trying to do it. And that motivated a lot of people to join them. It's not the pay scale or anything like that.
So it was more the innovation of the product
that
and
was
really
like,
the challenge of solving the problem. That's the height
that's right.
to which you're able to reach.
So like Bhaskar showed you, we could do live video on iPhone when iPhone was not able to do it. We're one of the few companies in the world could do it. In fact, few teams in the world, or probably the only team in the world, could do almost a VGA video on iPhone, and iPhone was not letting me do it. And we are the only team in the world probably doing an NDK level video chat on Android, and Android was not letting me do it. So the skill set we had was bar none in the world. As Bhaskar said, if the team had been together in one place, we could have accelerated our product differentiation way ahead of everyone else.
So, once again, congratulations. Really good stuff and a very nice presentation. The part that I was interested in is this, you said there was Skype came and approached you. If they had not, what was your, you had raised money, I think about a few months ahead of that Series B, I believe. So what was your thought process at the time of raising money? What were you raising the money for, and what would you have done if it had not been Skype? Was it exit strategy always to get acquired, or was it something else?
No, we never discussed a whole lot of exit strategy. For us, honestly, it was not around the economics, but the thing that got excited was when we saw this. When we were seeing that people are using a product on a daily basis, that was the motivational factor. We wanted every smartphone users, and still want every smartphone user to use the product. And that was the key motivation that drove us. And the reason why we raised that funding was just that. We had, at that point in time, Sprint, T-Mobile, we were in talks with other carriers. We were just looking at how we can accelerate our entire distribution. Revenue was coming in at that point in time, and we knew we could become profitable in the next 1.5 years. So it was just around scaling what we were doing across the board, not just in US, but globally.
So has your revenue model, looks like you're charging some royalty, right? Because since all the carriers were adopting it. So has it changed after the Skype acquisition?
It has not. We still are charging for distribution of Quick through OEMs, etc. If you are using the Quick product, it's if you distribute it, it's a paid product.
So will you continue to do that, or?
Those are some of the things that are being discussed and figured out what the right overall revenue model will be in the scheme of Skype, which is essentially charging for premium as well as Skype out. So those things are being discussed and figured out as to how we do it, how we merge our premium into Skype premium, all that stuff, how that comes together. So I don't know, but currently with every new deal also that we are striking, whether it be with carriers or OEMs, there is royalty attributed.
Do you have a privilege to work with a new Apple iPhone 4S?
Not yet, not yet. But I'm pretty sure the day it launches, whether it'll be Harag or someone, will have that device and we'll start tearing that out.
Any other questions from the audience? So I have one more question. So any words of wisdom for aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience? Are there anyone who are trying to do any mobile video startups? I know some, but I want to mention. Who? Okay, so I'm asking Bhaskar and Ram both of you.
I'll give my view. I think the main place where and this is coming essentially as I'm talking to other entrepreneurs who are looking to do this, is the main place where I think people get stuck is okay, I have this idea, how can I validate this, how can I test this, or how do I go about raising funds, right? So those are some of the key things everyone is facing the challenge as to, I have a concept, how do I take it to the next level? And nowadays it's extremely easy to test any idea, any product out there. And I would say, if you have an idea, if you have a thought, you should test it out. And it's very easy to do. You don't have to build anything. In fact, I'll share one of the things that we did when we went into the mobile direction was we said that, okay, mobile smartphones are not there, but given if they had it, will they really use something like that or not? How can we test that concept out? So we used Zoomerang survey. And the way we did it is we said that we're not going to ask our friends, they'll just give us a rosy picture, and try to encourage us. We need real truth from real users. We bought some Google AdWords, put a landing page, drove people to that landing page, and got them to fill a survey out, saying that if you had this capability on the mobile device, would you use it? Would you pay for it? There were some 5 questions that we had. In the first, I think we got around 100 responses, out of which like 80 or 90% said they would use it regularly and pay for it. We said, enough of survey, let's start building it. And I think it is, the testing of a concept and an idea nowadays is very simple. You don't really have to build a product. Put a landing page up there, there's just so much traffic. Get the right segment of folks that you want to drive them to that page and see if they are willing to try something out. And if they are, then you just follow that. Just don't hesitate, just go for it.
Yeah, in addition to that, like what Bhaskar mentioned about validating your idea early on, I think it's mandatory to have a balanced team. It's just not like, I know how to write this problem. It's like you can see in this table, right? Each of us thinks differently here, right? And you didn't see the third counterpart, Nikolai, knows more about technology and can write software so well, right? So you need a quorum of talent to take your idea to the market, to get adoption, to get a revenue stream built up, and then finally an exit comes along, right? So you need basically a quorum of talent around you before you embark on an idea and try to make it a business. Otherwise it's going to be very challenging. That's what my personal lesson is.
Yeah, I would say if you're at it alone, get some co-founders, and we get ready to get married to them. Because that's what it is. You'll have your fights, you'll have your ups and downs. It is a very, very strong relationship. And just get the right group of co-founders, because it's very hard to do it alone. I don't think I would have ever been able to do something like this alone. I don't know about you, Ramu, but without Ramu and Nick and all of us together at this on a daily basis, means when one was down, one was up, and we just balanced each other very well across the board. So
it looks like you guys are not divorcing even from next startup. So, but in terms of the trends or market opportunities, is there any? The idea of going and testing it through, like you suggested, the idea you gave the audience. But is there any trends, opportunities in terms of in mobile? As you know, right now there are 5 billion mobile devices in the world. 20% left, even though there are some kids probably just being born, they can't use the phone out of 6.9 billion. But so, any just kind of thoughts and ideas to the audience who want to build the next quick?
I don't know of any ideas offhand, but what I would say is mobile at least I'm biased, but I think mobile is one of the key things you should look at, even if you're building a desktop product. People are just now so used to working on the mobile device and doing things on the mobile device. Mobile has to be the first thought rather than desktop. And so, there are the opportunities. If you look at mobile, there are just a number of problems, right? It is still extremely fragmented. People are building, now there were iPhone 5 has 1080p video, all these various things that are just, people are innovating at an extremely fast pace on the mobile device itself and what the device can or cannot do. So the opportunities are there across the board because it is still a very fragmented platform. And people are experimenting with form factors to across the board, right? So I think there are a number of opportunities there, and if you means if you dig, you'll find it, including payments, right? Mobile payments, apart from Apple, which forces you to enter your credit card when you create an iTunes account, they are the only ones who have cracked mobile payment, essentially. So there could be opportunities in mobile payment as well. So I think the opportunities are across the board.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you mentioned about mobile payments. We had a program last week, but seems like there are various camps coming up, right? NFC is one of them,
Yep.
which is with Google Wallet and
Yep.
Amex.
I
Then you've got
know
MasterCard on the other side, then Visa. So any thoughts on that? What do you think is going to happen? In fact, I saw an entrepreneur showing me yesterday an application. He said you don't need any NFC or anything. You just write, it just creates kind of a fake MasterCard or and then it pays at the point of payment.
I think that space is going to get innovated extremely fast in the next couple of years to figure out how payments can be done from mobile devices. I don't know whether wallet is the right mechanism. NFC is a technology, right, which just enables such capabilities. But whether it's going to be NFC as the standard or other standards that are going to come across the board, I'm not sure. But in terms of payment, and whether it be owning it from a wallet standpoint or whether it be owning it from a point of sale standpoint, all those things